Well, week one is finally. What are you looking at me like that for, Matt? I'll explain. I'll explain. Week one finally in the books. Turn our attention to week two, beginning tonight with Chiefs, Chargers, and wrapping up with our Birds. Monday Night Football versus the Vikings, who we're going to get a perspective on from Luke Braun of the Locked On Vikings podcast a little bit later in the show. Matt and I'll share our thoughts, concerns on that matchup as well. I want to check in with our draft pick that's owned by the Saints. We get to do that again this season. Early returns, not so great. NFC East got flipped upside down on its own head over the weekend. We'll discuss that. Got two dumbasses of the day this week, Matt.
I like that.
No, it's not me. I'll be featured on the worst take of the week segment. You're not going to want to go anywhere. But first, how about we do a little recap of what we saw Sunday, 1 o'clock at Ford Field. Matt, hello, sir.
What's going on?
The floor is yours. You watched the game, I assume.
I did.
What are your thoughts? The good, the bad, the ugly?
I mean, I feel like it's probably the same thoughts as everyone. The offense looked good. They moved the ball well, and the defense is like a little bit concerning.
Yeah.
I
Win's
think
a win?
Win's a win, of course, or especially this early in the season. Like week one's, everyone says there's the week one overreaction. So, yeah, I mean, am I nervous? Not yet, but was the defense encouraging? Not even a little bit.
So
I mean, you could argue that if Dan Campbell doesn't make that bozo decision to kick an onside kick, that we probably lose. Not good chance we lose the game.
Yeah, I mean, in a 3-point game, there's tons of those plays that can really completely change. I mean, the Lions had like 4 or 5 drops I saw throughout that game. A lot of opportunities to kind of, or at least rack up some more points on us, and it probably could have been a little bit worse than it ended up being. I'm with you though. Win's a win. Overall, though, you said you had some positive thoughts on the offense, some negative thoughts on the defense. Would you say overall your impression is more encouraged or discouraged from what you saw out of the Birds week one?
It's hard to say. I would say encouraged just because Hurts. It's not like Hurts did anything crazy, but he looked polished. He looked like he was sitting in the pocket for longer, going through his reads. He finally got him that big target in AJ Brown, that's the most intriguing.
Yeah.
AJ Brown is
Oh my
stud.
God, he's a monster.
He's a beast.
So, yeah, and I'm with you on the Hurts thing. I thought he looked pretty crisp most of the game. There was some throws in there that I'm not sure that he would have attempted to make last year. Maybe there's a little more confidence there with AJ Brown. He protected the ball well as he always did. He's bailing us out with his legs a lot on third and fourth down.
I couldn't believe they didn't put a spy on him at one point.
Yeah,
he was killing them on third down.
I mean, they were just sending the house at a lot of points, and he was making them regret it.
What do you have,
probably
like 9? Did he have 90 rushing yards, or was it 80?
I think he had something like that, something like 80s, 90s, somewhere in that range.
With a tud.
I would say he probably ran at the end of the game. When you total it all up, he probably ran a little bit more than you would like to see him on a regular basis.
He was taking some hits.
Sure, and carrying the ball about 10 times a game when you flesh it out to over a 17-week period, and you have Hurts taking 170 carries plus. That's not really a number that you want to see out of your quarterback, especially if you want to get through all of those 17 games and beyond that, 20 plus. So I'm going to have to just get way ahead of myself here and ask you this question because we saw what we saw out of Jalen Hurts week one. And obviously, we're going to see a lot more throughout the season. And the answer to this question is probably going to change 5 or 6 times or maybe even 16 times. Do you think, and this is, like I said, I'm getting ahead of myself. Could the Eagles win a Super Bowl with the version of Jalen Hurts that just played on Sunday?
I mean, if he does like that exact performance every Sunday, definitely. Like he wasn't killing you with his arm. He wasn't doing anything like when you watch like Mahomes or Allen and you're like, wow, like how did he make that throw? But he did everything you need him to do. He's hitting people on slants in the perfect spot. He had the deep ball to AJ Brown, which I think was really the only ball he threw down like 20 plus downfield probably.
Yeah.
It was a great throw. His timing looked there. He looked like he was going it's weird. If you looked at the stat line, you would be like, oh, same old Hurts from last year.
Yeah.
Because of all the rushing and like didn't throw for a touchdown and all that. But he was sitting in the pocket going through his reads. That's what's a little concerning for me is besides AJ Brown, were these receivers just not getting open?
So let me ask you about that because Devontae Smith had, I think, 4 targets.
And he also had the one that he got a catch, got taken back.
One got taken back. I think he had like a drop at one point too.
Yeah,
overall, not a great day for Devontae.
Not concerned yet at all.
Not concerned on Devontae.
Nah.
So I'm with you there. I think this is sort of where we're going to be able to really see how much Jalen Hurts has improved going through those progressions because once defenses start keying in on AJ Brown, and they will, to be sure that they will, they're going to start putting safety help over the top on the other side, and they're going to be covering him, double covering him. And then all of a sudden, we're going to be able to see if Devontae Smith starts, see if he has that A.J. Brown day that he just had on Sunday, 10 catches, 150 yards, something like that. That's what you want to see out of Devontae. And then, going down the line, you want to see that out of Dallas Goedert. You want to see Jalen Hurts. You want to see somebody have one of those days every week, right? That means the quarterback spreading the ball around. That means the offense is humming. It's a well-oiled machine. But I agree. I think that the Eagles could. I, I I think a lot of times people overrate just how special your quarterback needs to be for you to go all the way and win the Super Bowl. I mean, last season Stafford was
he was awesome in the playoffs.
Yeah, he was what put the Rams over the top
100%.
compared to Jared Goff, Tom Brady, of course, Patrick Mahomes. But you go back to like
Nick Foles.
Yeah, sure, like Nick Foles, but you go back to
like a god.
He was. Yeah. But you played like in 2015. You have like noodle arm version of Peyton Manning winning the Super Bowl at that point, right? I mean, you don't always need,
and that's where it kind of comes in with like the whole Cam Newton thing. Like he was a stud all year, got to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. There's like
that was a weird Super Bowl. It was a really weird one.
Yeah, I think probably more recently, and I think a lot of people are just sort of stunned by like what they saw in that divisional round game in the AFC last season with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, right? Because they're going back and forth.
That was probably the greatest quarterback duel of all time.
It was unbelievable, and it was 13 seconds left on the clock, and still, as a fan, you're sitting there going, "That's too much time for Mahomes."
When Gabe Davis scored the fourth touchdown, Josh Allen was mic'd up, and he hugged him and said, "Fourth touchdown to send us to the AFC Championship? Are you kidding me?"
Oh my God!
Josh Allen thought it was over.
Everybody did. Well, I mean,
except Buck and Nance and Romo didn't. They were like Mahomes.
And if you're watching in that moment,
and the way that the whole game went, the last 5 minutes,
right? Like you're there and you see 13 seconds left on the clock, and you're like, well, I mean, like, I don't think it's impossible.
And you get beat by the two guys you can't get beat by. There was Hill first for like 20, and then Travis right up the seam.
And Mahomes just knows how to find those.
Apparently, that route wasn't what Kelsey was supposed to run, and he was like, "I just gave Mahomes a look, and we both knew."
Wow.
Like that's chemistry.
That is cool stuff. Yeah. So that was the good from Sunday. The offensive side of the ball. I think there were some, maybe some times where you could point to the play calling and say, maybe it could have been a little bit better. We'll see. They were dealing with a lot of weird. I mean, the Lions were sending everybody.
That first possession, they were just sending
crazy. And Hurts was like 0 for 5, and you're like, oh great, here we go. But now the defense overall was bad, but they did have a string of, I'd say like 3 consecutive 3-and-outs plus the pick six that really, that was really ended up being the difference.
It was a weird
game.
It was a really weird game for the defense.
It was a weird game for the defense.
The run defense looked horrible. The tackling was off, and that's why I'm not really that worried yet, because like when you're not playing in the preseason, and I think someone was on WIP this morning. It might have been Ross Tucker.
Yeah,
and he was talking about where that's the biggest switch for these guys that aren't playing is when you go in and you're live tackling. Like you're like, oh, all right, this is it. Like this is the real thing. So I'm not too concerned yet. There was a lot of whiff tackles. I think Bradbury whiffed one. Gardner Johnson whiffed one. So that's something that you're going to settle into.
Yeah, and that's sort of the trade-off I think that you take with what the coaches were trying to implement during training camp with the soft training camp schedule, stuff like that. They go in, I guess they're not ready to tackle, but as you look, and we'll get to the injury report a little bit later, I mean, they're pretty clean. Yeah. I mean, Barnett out with the ACL and Dillard, but other than that, I mean, no starters have gone down yet. And I'm knocking on wood there, but I mean, I think I would take that trade-off, especially because you get the win, and in week 1, you're kind of just out there to survive.
Yeah,
especially when you're on
the road. You tell me week 1 we're going to win and not have any like crucial injuries.
Yeah,
like okay, I don't care how we did it, but win's a win.
And look, I got to give credit to the Lions. Obviously, you see what I'm wearing on my nose. I'll get more into that in a second. But the Lions,
fought hard.
They played a little bit better than I expected them to. And like you said earlier in the show, they could have beaten us had their coach Dan Campbell, which was that was everyone's reason for why the Lions are going to be on top of us was Dan Campbell. And Dan Campbell ended up losing the game.
He had that bozo call, but at the same time, you got to give credit to a coach when his team stays in it like that, because like it got to a point where you were like, okay, this is about to turn into a blowout.
Yeah,
we're about to take off, and they stayed in it.
Yeah,
I will give them props for that. Putting up 35, that's
very impressive.
Yeah, that's very impressive.
So here's the thing, and another thing with the defense, and you mentioned this, the run defense looked awful. I think the secondary, looked not like you wanted it to.
Slade catches that pick 99 out of 100.
Yeah,
times.
and getting beat by Chark on that touchdown. I mean, that's just you get beat sometimes by
corner's the hardest position to play.
It is, and I mean, sometimes a wide receiver is just going to beat you. You see that.
Jalen Ramsey let up a perfect passer rating week 1. He's the best corner in the league.
Yep. I thought Kaiser White was all over the place. He looked great.
He looks awesome. I'm really excited for him.
Bradbury looked good in his debut. I think
Yeah, I'm not gonna hate because he's coming back because he's the man. He's come back from it, but I didn't hear BG's name once.
Yeah, not really, and I guess that's kind of
he's gonna have a slow
starting to be expected as as he sort of winds down. The run defense was really what the issue was, and I wonder if this had a lot to do with because look, the Lions were at a certain point down by multiple scores with in the second half of the game at a point in time where most teams would start throwing it to get back in the game.
Yep.
So I'm wondering if the Eagles are sort of playing off, expecting them to throw it, and then they just hand it off a draw play to DeAndre Swift.
And even with the injuries they have a good O-line. That's the strength of their team, is their offensive line.
They do, and I mean they certainly handled our defensive line. Hassan Reddick was
non-existent. I think
nowhere to be found.
You said you rewatched the game, right? And it just felt like Gannon
was
using him wrong.
He was doing he was doing that thing.
He started off as a middle linebacker, and he can do that stuff. I understand you can put him in those situations you need to, but he's a pass rusher. Put him on the edge.
Well, you paid him to be a pass rusher.
That's where he's the best.
Right, and especially if you're going to draft a guy like Jordan Davis, who I'll get to in just a second, who's not a premier pass rusher, you drafted him to sort of just be that like a nose tackle, then you need Reddick, the guy that you pay in the offseason to go get to the quarterback himself.
I want him pass rushing on 80% of his snaps.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Not that great in coverage. Like that's where he struggled early on in his career.
And that was what I saw Gannon doing. I saw Gannon sort of deploying Hassan Reddick out in coverage a little bit, and that's not what I want to see. You have a good enough secondary to where I don't think you need to do that. And Kaiser White looked like he was good in coverage too. I don't think.
I think Gannon is my biggest disappointment from week one. Not even a player on defense, just him.
Just Gannon, right? And I'll tell you what. I mean, this week against the Vikings with Justin Jefferson, if I see Kirk Cousins completing like 80% of his passes, I want heads to roll by the next week.
If I'm Gannon, I'm just like, there's no way we're letting Kirk sit back in the pocket, and there's no way we're letting Justin Jefferson beat us. I know it's easier said than done. Way easier said than done.
Screwed.
But you got to do everything you can. Like you can. Kirk had like 280 yards, and Jefferson had like 185 of them.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, Justin Jefferson, I think might just be on one of those tears this year where he's just going to be unstoppable.
You can't contain him, but you can try to control him.
Right. And we'll actually talk to Luke Braun in a little bit about Justin Jefferson. I want to get some thoughts on him.
I'd like to hear his thoughts on Jaylen
Rhaegar as well. Yep. And
out for revenge this week.
Yeah.
What are you revenge for? Taking of you with a first round pick and you just sucking.
Well, I'm wondering why he didn't want revenge on the Vikings for all those years. Because when they were clowning him,
laughing at us drafting,
right? And
that's I didn't even think about that. That's probably awkward.
That didn't seem to motivate him at all for the 3 years that he was here. Well, I guess now the thing is that regime is gone in Minnesota.
That's true.
So
crazy him and Jefferson on the same team,
and
really the gap is like.
But anyway, is he going to fair catches to death out there? Like, you don't do anything.
He's going to be shitting his pants if he's out there fielding the punt. I'm going to be at the game. It's going to be relentless. It's going to be relentless. It's going to be relentless because when they go out on the field too, kick returner, punt returner, they say it over the loudspeaker, like now returning punt.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Dude, he is going to. Imagine if he muffs a punt. That place will explode.
Oh, it's going to be great, dude.
It will explode. And I kind of think it's going to happen just because he's like,
and if you guys are getting in his head,
he's in his. Everyone gets in his head.
Oh yeah.
So people are gonna get in his head.
Yeah.
Come on. That's not even a question.
All right. So we hope that the defense is going to be a little bit better against the Vikings. Now there was kind of an interesting stat that I saw about the defense last week, the run defense in particular, and it had to do with Jordan Davis. I'm sure you saw this by now, but it was when Jordan Davis was in the game. The Lions averaged 2.9 yards per carry on the ground, and when he was out of the game, they averaged like 10.2. I mean, that's a ridiculous contrast there. And now that makes me wonder three things. Right, one of three things is: do they not trust Jordan Davis to be out there for obvious passing situations like third down? That was when the Lions were just opening up and running the draw play on us. So I guess they're not comfortable enough with putting Davis out there on those passing situations. Is that because they don't think he's conditioned well enough? Or option C, is Jonathan Gannon just a moron? What do you think?
C and B.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with TK. I think Gannon is totally a moron. I'm totally off the Gannon train. I don't even think I was ever even on it. But also the conditioning's gotta be a concern. I mean, when you're that large of a human being, like no matter how much you're working out and stuff, like your gas tank's just less. It's gotta be. He's huge. He's ginormous.
I know, but then I think it calls to question the pick.
I think all three make sense.
Yeah.
I think too that they don't trust him fully yet. I mean, he's a raw talent. Like
he is.
It's his size and strength is what got him drafted and his athleticism. Yep. It wasn't his like knowledge for the game or whatever.
Motor.
He's just he's going to be a beast. I'm not worried about him. I'm more so worried about Gannon. I think.
I mean, I think we're gonna. We'll obviously know a lot more about him as the season goes on.
Yeah, and the good thing is you don't need him to be a guy that's playing 80% of the snaps because you have that.
Well, you hope.
You have that depth.
If the other guys are getting to the passer enough, right? I mean, if they're not, it becomes an issue.
You have Fletch, you have Hargrave, Milton Williams is a guy. I think one of the most underrated players on the team. I think that was a snag by Howie.
Yeah,
I think he could develop into a really, really good player.
But this guy Tua Peloto or whatever, like, there's no world in which he should be. I know he had a good play on the interception, but there's no world in which he should be getting more snaps.
I mean, I'd be lying to you if I told you I knew who he was before the game.
I think it was like a later round pick a few years ago, something like that. And I only remember because they always end up drafting these dudes with long like Hawaiian names in late rounds.
I guess he's eating the Ridgeway snaps. I guess.
I have no idea.
Fletch was playing some DN, which I don't like.
I hate that. What the hell is that all about?
The Gannon. It comes back to Gannon. So like when I heard I think it was a third down. It was the announcer was like, and that was Fletcher Cox playing some DN there. I was like, what? Like, he is not a defensive end whatsoever.
Yep, I'm with you. All right, Matt. I'm going to give you one chance here. This is the last chance this season. You went into what did you say your record prediction was last week? I'm sorry, I forgot to write it down before the show started. It was 12-5 then. Okay. Yep. I would like to give you one chance, Matt, after what you saw in week 1 to modify that record prediction for this season. You're going to stick to your guns?
I'm stick with 12-5.
I think I'm going to stick with 12-5 too. So.
And I had a dub this week, and I think you had an L for Minnesota when we went over.
Yes, Minnesota. Had
to go back, I'd maybe switch around some wins and losses, but I think I would keep it at 12-5.
Okay, so
after what I saw from Minnesota, I'm getting a little nervous.
Yeah. So, like I said, we will have Luke Braun of Locked on Vikings give us the Vikings angle of our upcoming matchup Monday night.
I'd like to hear how he's feeling, if he's nervous, if he's feeling confident.
Yep.
Link's a tough place to play, especially on a primetime
Absolutely game. Is. I'm going to do my very best, Matt, not to drop any 38-7 jokes on him.
No, we have to do it.
I can't promise anything, but
we got to hit him with at least one.
Before we do that, Matt, let's catch up on some of the other happenings around the NFL as they relate to the Eagles, of course. So just like last season where we tracked the progress of the Colts and Dolphins first-round picks that we owned, this season, the subject of our draft pick tracker is the New Orleans Saints, whose season outlook no one can really seem to put a finger on.
They're a team that it could go either way.
Mixed vibes, right. That makes them a very interesting team to follow this season, if you ask me. Sure. So down to Atlanta we go. This one...
That hurts. Atlanta was up the whole game.
Yeah, so I'm not going to act like I had eyes on this one because it happened at the same time as the Eagles game.
I had box score eyes on it just because I have Cordell Patterson in fantasy.
Gotcha.
So I was paying attention to that game.
So it was a wild one. Like you said, the Falcons finding themselves up 26-10.
A lot of crazy games
at the beginning of the fourth quarter. But there's one thing we know about Atlanta historically is that they're pretty much always good at hanging on to those leads at the end of the game.
Did the Saints lead besides
at the end of the game? I think it was. Maybe like if they had
because Atlanta went up 10-0. I know.
Yeah, that's what it was. So that they didn't then.
That's crazy.
So the Saints came roaring back with a pair of touchdowns from Michael Thomas, from Winston, who exited and then re-entered the game.
Got pain everywhere.
Yeah, pain everywhere. Dude's so freaking funny, man.
So he's got to power through. He was like laughing at himself there. He's a character.
He is so funny, man.
It's hilarious.
Will Lutz ends up being the hero. Field goal puts him over. Atlanta in the win column. Of course, it's week 1, so who knows this game is really any indicator.
Atlanta
of
looked
like
they could possibly be a better team than people were expecting.
Okay, so Saints did barely squeak by.
Mariota looked solid.
Yeah, he did. Now for the Saints, though, would you overall call this a stock down or a stock up day for a draft pick? I mean, I know they won, so
I would
probably
say
stock down, right?
I would just say stock down just because obviously they won, so they started off with a win. And second, it's week 1, so you got to take everything with a grain of salt. But the fact that they were able to come from behind, playing down the whole game and get a win on the road, that's a pretty impressive win.
It is a division game.
Yep.
So they're going to host the Bucs 1:00 Sunday, who's week 1 opponent.
They didn't look good.
We're going to get to in a moment.
The Bucs are lucky that Dallas looked like such shit because they didn't get any slack and they looked bad.
The Bucs looked bad. Dallas looked like the worst team in the league, which was just amazing. We'll talk about that.
I usually hate watching them in prime time, but I loved it.
Yeah. The Bucs are a little bit banged up now. Godwin, I know Fournette's dealing with stuff. Mike Evans dealing with
Fournette
stuff.
Picked up a hamstring.
I mean, man, it's brutal already for the Bucs, man. The Saints are a little bit banged up too, though. Kamara's got a rib injury. I know Winston's still dealing with whatever. Yep. So, you feeling a 2-0 start for the Saints?
Where's the game at?
I think it's in I think it's in Tampa Bay. Double check that.
I mean, honestly, if both teams come out looking like they did last week, I'm gonna have to go with New Orleans. But
No, it's in New Orleans.
It's in New Orleans.
So.
Matty B has a question for you.
Oh, great. Here we go. Is Howie in the room game planning? Oh, okay. So
Are you getting to that?
Well, I didn't want to address this because it's more of a non-story now that Nick Sirianni addressed it today.
I didn't see that. That's
okay.
I didn't catch what Sirianni said.
So I'll explain this to the uninitiated here. Jonathan Gannon the other day in his press conference when asked about the rotation, the snap usage, Jordan Davis and stuff, he said, "Oh, we go over the game plan every week with the head coach, with Howie," and everyone's like, "Oh, like here we go, like Howie's game planning with the team." But general managers need to be informed of who they're going to bring up and send down from practice squads every week. When you're managing a 53-man roster, there's limitations on who you can send up, send down. There's the salary stuff, all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, you're not all 32 general managers around the league are being informed and are there in the meetings, especially now. I mean, this isn't the 80s with Bill Parcells like freaking completely locking the door on whoever his general manager is. This is a collaborative effort all around the league. And Nick Sirianni confirmed as much in his press conference earlier today.
I'm not.
So
worried about
yeah,
that.
I know. Look,
I'm sure if Sirianni really had an issue with it, he would.
Yeah.
He would make it known.
Right. But Matt always just looking for.
I mean,
not you, Matt.
As someone who isn't like the highest on Howie, that's just
nothing. Yeah, right. Non-story. All right. To the NFCs, Matt. Let's start with the commies, who I got something on a bit later. Not going to want to miss that. Also, I'll explain this clown nose for those of you who are wondering what the hell this dude's doing with a clown nose on. I'll get to that in just a little bit too. Carson Wentz was in mid-season Wentz form, Matt. They played host to Doug Peterson's Jags. What a reunion that was, man.
Yeah.
Score one went to Wentz, who, as I just mentioned, threw a couple bad picks to let the Jags back into the game. Ultimately clutched it up to seal the victory over our guy, Dougie P.
Yeah, I think he had 2 touchdowns in the fourth to take the lead, correct?
Yes.
So.
Yep. Thinking Wentz's been revitalized in DC?
It's hard to know with him because, like, honestly, like I was kind of on the side where I didn't even really think he played that bad last year.
Yeah.
It was just kind of a disaster at the last 2 weeks where they just totally missed the playoffs because he played like shit. But yeah, I mean, I could see him having a solid year. I don't think he's ever going to be even close to what he was in 2017. That ship's way sailed. But he was throwing the ball downfield accurately, which you haven't really seen in a long time. And he's got some speed there now with Terry and Dotson and Samuel. That's a really fast receiving core. But I don't know yet. I have to see some more from him. You need to see that consistency.
Yeah,
because like he could come out this week and have like 2 picks and no touchdown. So if he starts to string together a couple, I'll be like, yeah, he could be solid. I mean, he's. I don't want to. It's gonna sound weird saying this. He's like honestly, I think almost a little underrated. Like he gets so much hate, like from even the national media.
He's as bad as people. Yeah,
he's a laughing stock, and he's not nearly as bad as like some of these quarterbacks. Like you ever see like videos? People are like, all right, we're gonna do Carson Wentz. Would you rather have this quarterback over? And they name a bunch of quarterbacks. Like people take some quarterbacks over him. I'm like, come on.
I know it's wild.
Like one was like I saw Drew Lock over him. I was like, come on.
No, Carson Wentz is a lot more talented than Drew Lock.
I mean, Wentz did. It's a circus with him, man. Like he was dropping dimes and then he's throwing interceptions on screens. Like it's a typical Carson Wentz game.
Yeah. All right. I'll ask you about what that means for the division as a whole. We got Luke Braun coming in about 6 minutes here. So first, let's talk about the Giants, Matt. They had their first game under Brian Daboll. Interesting one. They go down to Tennessee, last year's #1 seed, now minus A.J. Brown. It's got a little dicey, though, as Daniel Jones and he made a string of boneheaded plays, which he does.
Yeah.
Drew was Stern talking to by Daboll on the sidelines. Did you see that? They did end up rebounding. Ballsy move to go for 2 at the end of the game.
Yeah, it was.
It worked. One of those things that if it works,
everyone knew Randy Bullock was missing that field goal too at the end. Like that's a given.
Things off to a pretty good start up there in New York.
Yeah. I don't know. The Giants still don't worry me that much because I think we both had. I had Tennessee struggling this year. I think they were kind of a team to me. It looked like this is obvious a team that's ready for a fall off.
Yeah. And
so
week 1 was the perfect spot to get them.
I don't really look at that like anything crazy for the Giants. Good for Daboll. Saw he had like an emotional win because like his grandparents both recently died or something. Okay. So yeah, good for him. I'm more worried about the Commanders than the Giants.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm with you there. Okay, so all I would say on that is just those kind of things can endear a locker room to the coach. You know, it builds trust. Say, hey, I believe in you guys. Go for it. Yeah. Unlike what Nathaniel Hackett did, which I'll get to it in just a little while. That was ridiculous. Yeah, absurd. One of the most.
See Peyton freaking.
Yes, he was going nuts. Yeah, one of the most asinine coaching jobs I've ever seen.
In your debut.
I know. Oh my God, it's terrible. And even Russell Wilson, they were like,
if they went for it on 4th and 5 and didn't get it, like no one would have been like, oh, Hackett's an idiot. Like,
yeah, I know. So, all right, the granddaddy of them all, Matt, was what we witnessed Sunday night in Dallas. I could go on all night. I could do an entire show about just how much fun I had watching that. I won't do that. We got football coming up in a little bit, so I'll just rattle off a few of my favorite things that I saw happening there. First one was Dallas was the only team all week not to get in the end zone. That's pretty funny. And
wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the only team not to get in the end zone. 2, TK. Let's pull this one up here. Jason Peters sure looked like he regretted his decision to join Dallas pretty much instantly. I mean, just look at this guy. That's a face of regret right there. Oh, jeez. Oh, what have I gotten myself into? Oh, no. What have I done? It gets better, too. I'm not a guy that puts injuries in a good light. They're the ugliest part of the game. They can mess up careers. Hate injuries for anybody, but Dak's guaranteed millions of dollars, and he broke his thumb. So pardon me if I'm not shedding any tears for the guy. I mean, who freaking who? Dallas is screwed ultimately to cap that off with that whole debacle there.
Yeah.
To cap it all off, he runs off the field, Matt, to get his hand checked, and fans start pelting him with garbage.
Yeah, I saw that when he was running into the tunnel, like stuff falling down, and the announcer didn't say anything, and I was like, "Did I just see that right?" And there wasn't really much talk. It wasn't really talked about much. He was getting booed like
because it wasn't here.
Yeah, could you imagine if it were here?
True. Yep. If Hurts like got hurt and left in tunnel and did that,
oh my god,
it's
unbelievable. And now it's almost karma because Dak Prescott was gassing up the fans for throwing garbage at the officials last season. Remember that?
Yeah,
he's like, "Oh, good on them then," or whatever. So, and now he's the subject of the garbage pelting. You know what, Matt? If I could inject that, I think I would. Like just that whole situation, what happened with Dallas.
Fuck
like,
him.
And then there's of course Jerry Jones, who did like the cardinal sin when you're talking about timetables for player returns is to set a timetable on a guy who just got surgery. He said, "Oh, he'll be back in 4 weeks." When 4 is the minimum amount of time for this thumb. Like Bryce Harper had the same injury and was 8 weeks,
and he's not
he's
throwing
a
football.
Right.
Yeah.
So Jerry Jones goes on Dallas radio and says, "Yeah, he'll be back in 4 weeks."
I guarantee you too that he didn't like talk with Dak, and that's him just being like, "You're coming back in 4 weeks. I paid you that much money."
Right. I mean, oh my god, like it. It's just it's already a just complete mess up there in Dallas. And then you brought this up to me earlier, and I saw this the other day. This is just outstanding. Micah Parsons had signed on to do a weekly bit with Skip Bayless on his show
Undisputed
on FS1, and he already couldn't handle the heat after the first week.
He no-showed.
Oh no, my nose! He no-showed the first week. So Skip Bayless, noted Cowboys fan, was probably in shambles, wondering why his guy, Micah Parsons, did not end up calling in.
They had it. They had the segment ready and everything, and he just didn't call in.
So that's really embarrassing for Skip.
He was crying too.
It's also really embarrassing for Micah Parsons.
Parsons was crying too about the hit for. Did you see that block Fournette gave him?
Yeah,
he was crying about that too.
Yeah,
like, dude, you're gonna get chipped, man. You had a crazy year last year. Like, no one's gonna be single covering you.
All right, Matt. Let's bring on our guy Luke Braun here, host of the Locked On Vikings podcast. They drop episodes every single day. It'll be on any platform in which you get your podcasts. On Twitter at Locked On Vikings or at Luke Braun NFL. A lot of good stuff on there this week, especially pertinent to the upcoming matchup versus our Eagles. And here to shed a little bit of perspective on this game from behind enemy lines, it's Mr. Luke Braun. What's going on, Luke?
Hey. How's it going, Kyle?
Good, man. Thanks for taking the time. So big matchup Monday night, one I'd call measuring stick for both teams, really. I'll get to that in just a moment. But how could I not start this off by asking you about our buddy, Jaylen Rhaegar? You guys kind of poetically ended up taking him off our hands for a conditional 4th. It'll be a 5th and a 7th, pocket change, more or less, compared to what he was drafted at. I guess I just kind of want to quickly know what the reaction was to that trade over there and just what the expectations are for Rhaegar as a Viking.
So the headline is that we've sexualized him. He's a sex icon in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I kid you not.
Yeah.
There's a quote. You got to look it up.
I did see it.
I don't have it in front of me.
I did see it from the special teams coordinator.
The like hockey built outsize or whatever. Like he said the weirdest quote, which you don't usually get about like a skill player. It's amazing. But he's a special teamer for us now. He's a punt returner.
Yeah.
He's like wide receiver 4. I don't think he got on the field much, if at all, from scrimmage in week 1. So, you pay, a 7th and a conditional 5th, conditional 4th in 2 years. You'd spend that on a punt returner. That's about all it is. We don't really have any expectations from him. Beyond that, catch the punts, don't fumble, and we'll be happy.
Yeah. So,
it's a lot to ask.
Yeah. Good luck with that. By the way, he is seeking revenge. He said. I'm wondering if he's planning on fair catching us to death, or what his deal is over there.
Really vengeful fair catches.
Yeah. Right.
Well, that's the thing too. The in the first game, it was all fair catches but one. And they all should have been fair catches.
Okay, wow, all right.
The one he returned, he should not have returned.
Okay.
He made a guy miss and actually got 7 yards. It was a good return.
Wow.
But he just absolutely should not have.
I'll call that progress there, Luke, for Jaylen Rhaegar. So the guy he was drafted directly ahead of, Justin Jefferson, seems to be primed for a career year in this offense. Got off to a great start last week versus Green Bay. I mean, we've seen how good he is for the past few years now. What is it about this season in particular that had all the experts saying, man, Jefferson is about to go off?
The Cooper Cup role thing, we have Paul McVay. So that means we get to put Justin Jefferson in the Cooper Cup role. Cooper Cup, of course, led the league in receiving last year. Yep. So that, but with a first-round pedigree. Yeah. What's not to like? That's basically the deal. So in more specific terms, it's that the whole offense has funneled into him. And I don't know if that was just a Green Bay thing or if that's how the Vikings are going to live. Kind of one of the biggest questions I'm going to see answered because we only know one game and we don't know what was just for that game and what was overall stuff.
Right.
But everybody was a role player. Everybody was, even Adam Thielen, arguably Kirk Cousins. Everybody was just, their job is meant to maximize Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
And that's not my words either. That's Kevin O'Connell saying that's kind of how it goes. And if everybody does their job, Justin Jefferson gets a big play. Now, if you want to counter that and really bracket him and spend a whole bunch of resources schematically to cover him, then, you get to plan Bs and other guys get catches and you start running the ball, and that's a different thing. But the other thing is, the Vikings used a ton of, and this is a very McVay style thing. The Vikings used a ton of motion, and moving guys across the formation. If I recall, I believe the Eagles did the same thing with A.J. Brown against the Lions.
Yes.
But motioning, specifically crossing the ball, because that confuses coverages. A lot of the Packers coverages, a lot of modern coverages nowadays are split down the middle, on the ball. If you're on this side of the ball, there's a call. If you're on that side of the ball, there's a call. And it lets things be more flexible. But when you take the best player on the field and you cross him from one coverage to the other, it stresses both of those a lot. A lot of communication has to happen. You have to call it right. And if you don't, you get Justin Jefferson streaking down the field wide open, which is what you saw if you watch the highlights of Vikings-Packers. That's how they really did it. So you've got to be on your P's and Q's, and you've got to be communicating properly. And the other thing is you're not going to get the matchup you want. You want to put Darius Slay on Justin Jefferson, you probably won't be allowed to.
Yeah. Wow. So, look, I love watching Justin Jefferson play. I can't imagine I'm going to enjoy watching it as much on Monday night, just, with the idea of what he's probably going to do to us, what he's probably going to do to every defense around the NFL this season. He wasn't the only one who started the season off with a bang, though. The whole team itself beat up on the rival Green Bay Packers 38-7. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, man. It was 23-7.
Every single one of you guys.
Sorry, I had to.
4 Eagles shows, and everyone. You're the fastest to get it in, though.
Yeah, right.
Feels like they forgot to, and then they gotta sneak it in right at the end before the outro.
Gotcha.
You guys had it.
Okay, yeah. I was wondering whether I should do it or not, but you seemed like you could take it on, so I had to drop it on you.
No, all's fair. It was a good game.
Yeah, well, for us, for one of us at least. Now, is that week 1 result there, 23-7, that beaten down of the Green Bay Packers? Is that result sort of in line with the expectations of Vikings fans going into this season? Or are you sensing a feeling of this is our division now, changing of the guard, or is there still some hesitation on the part of the fans over there?
Well, that's kind of the question that was raised, because going into the season, you look at national power rankings, we were hovering around 20. Everybody was like, they're Kirk Cousins, they're just going to be okay, and they're floating, and they're middling, and they're just going to kind of be there. and they ran back a lot of the same roster. They got a new coach now, but what's that all going to do? And so to come out and just pound what was supposed to be a top 5 team did make a bit of a statement.
Yeah.
And what do we make of that statement? Yeah, like we kind of don't know what to make of it. Was it a fluke? Was this just week 1 stuff? You know, last year the Packers came out super flat week 1 and ended up winning 13 games anyways. So was this a fluke or was this a harbinger? Is kind of the question that we're all going into this game hoping to see answered.
Yeah.
Hopefully positively answered. Hopefully they look just as good this time. But they were a lot more put together than I thought. There were still some miscommunications. Everybody's learning new stuff, and it's all new scheme things.
Yeah.
You guys remember that because Sirianni's in what, 2nd year? So this was kind of week 1 or 2 last year. You know, you're going to see some busted coverages. You're going to see some miscommunications. You're going to see some busted protections and stuff. There's really communicative aspects. You're just still getting all that stuff down. You know, they've only been here for a handful of months.
Yeah.
So you're going to see a little bit of that, but I thought we'd see way more. They're way more put together than I thought for week 1. They're very prepared and very well organized for a team that's just starting out. But like, yeah, I don't know, man. I have no idea what to make of these Vikings. They weren't supposed to do that.
Yeah, I think we're in sort of the same position you are, where we're going to find out a lot about our team this Monday night matchup as well. So let me turn it on to the defense for you. Ed Donatel, I think I'm saying that right, is the new defensive coordinator of the Vikings. He now mans a defense once oversaw by former head coach Mike Zimmer. What will some of the noticeable differences, if any, or are expected to be with this new coordinator on the defense?
Yeah, so it's 100% different scheme.
Really?
Yeah, the Zimmer thing is he ran like the Nick Saban, Bill Belichick, I like to call it cover 7, man match. There's also like a lot more blitzing from a Zimmer scheme, and it seemed like Donatel barely blitzed against the Green Bay Packers. And again, might be a game plan thing. Maybe they want to live like that. I have no idea. But they barely blitzed. It was a lot more 4-man rush with a heavy use of stunts and games. So how they're actually trying to get pressure is a much different philosophy. The coverage philosophies are a lot different. We went from man match, which is what Belichick runs and Saban and a ton of the big colleges run, to zone match, which has a lot of the same coverage principles, but it's just a different rule set. You know, instead of going the 1, the 2, the 3, you're kind of going the innermost, outermost, and it's a little bit more spatially oriented than just counting off guys. But you're still, you know, once you're in that person's zone, you're still using man coverage techniques. So it won't look a lot different, but it is a lot different to play. And a lot more coverage-wise. The Vikings used to just live in quarters. They would live in quarters, cover 4, man match, like Bill Belichick does. This is a Fangio scheme that lives a lot more similarly to the way you guys live with Jonathan Gannon.
Yeah.
In a lot of cover 6, a lot of really soft umbrella coverages that say, you know, we're going to back everybody way off and you just can't go deep. You're going to have to live in this underneath world and we're going to have our safeties come flying downhill, rally, and tackle.
Yeah.
That's the way it works. So it is 100% different. Forget everything you knew about the Vikings defense from the last 8 years. This is a brand new world. A lot of the same guys, but they're all doing different stuff.
All right. We're talking to Luke Braun, host of the Locked On Vikings podcast, available wherever you get your podcast. Your latest episode, Luke, was titled A Blueprint for Beating the Eagles. Now, in that show, you fleshed it out for your 30-plus minute episode. So anyone who wants that full breakdown, I recommend you go check that out. Would you, just in not as many words, Luke, tell us what that blueprint is? I will not share it with Nick Sirianni, I promise.
Well, that actually came from one of you guys. It came from Tino Camilleri of Locked On Eagles. It's our crossover Thursdays. Every Thursday on the Locked On Network.
Nice.
And so we'll do a collab with our whatever team, whoever covers our opponent.
Yep.
So that was actually him talking about how the Lions ran so well on the Eagles, using a lot of power and a lot of trap blocking and a lot of kind of pinning around. The Eagles seem to play it really aggressively. And then I guess all you guys are talking about that Jordan Davis on-off stat where he only played 22 snaps.
Yep.
So that's a big, and it was way better with him on the field. So that's a big deal. But it seemed, did he just come off when you were a nickel? Was that the deal? Because I guess we just will like live in with a lot more wide receivers then, and off the field.
So they took him out in like nickel, like obvious passing down situations. I don't think they trust him on third down stuff like that. I think they think,
and that was like most of the game because the Lions were chasing it like the whole time. Right?
Yeah, and they were hitting us with draw plays. At points in the game where you would think that a team is throwing to get back into the game, they were just sort of running it up the gut on us. So that could play a part in it as well.
Right, and it was working probably because you were playing really soft.
Yes.
So that's I guess the deal is like the Lions put up like 200 yards on the ground or something crazy like that.
Yeah, way too many. Yeah, is what I would say.
Yeah, and so I guess the blueprint is find those holes up the gut, run at those bubbles.
Yeah.
And try to keep the game on the ground. The only salient prediction I have for this game is if anybody gets up 2 scores, they're staying up 2 scores because both of these teams are going to let you run a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think if you get to a point where, okay, now we're just running the ball every play and we want to run the clock out, I think both teams will be able to do it. And both teams are volatile enough where this could be either team. So I have no idea what to make of this game. But if somebody I don't see this being a game where you have some really heroic comeback. I see this being a game where somebody gets up 2 scores, and maybe nobody ever gets up 2 scores, but if somebody does, I see an 8-minute drive that turns the game into one of those like warp comeback scenarios, and then from there anything can happen. But I definitely see there being an 8-9 minute drive from a leading team somewhere, and however that affects the game.
Oh yeah, love those. All right. One last thing I got for you here. I'm just going to sort of flip that script on you. What's the blueprint to beat the Vikings?
The blueprint to beat the Vikings, I would say, is rack Justin Jefferson. That has to happen. You just cannot sit there and have him in a one-on-one situation. You can't just try to zone him off because Kevin O'Connell's just too smart for that. They're going to stress your communication rules. They're going to stress your players, and before you know it, you're going to end up with Justin Jefferson on a linebacker somehow, and you're going to be like, how did that happen to us? That's the key. You have to do that.
Yep.
Then it just comes to, here's the thing I think you guys should do, and I don't know if Jonathan Gannon does it because it's a little bit counterintuitive. You got to have Jordan Davis in on passing down.
Yeah.
Because the Vikings have Garrett Bradbury. He's their center. What if Jason Kelce was bad? He is listed at 300 pounds by the Vikings exactly, which is a suspiciously round number.
Yeah.
All right. He's light. He's going to get pushed back. He gets pushed back a lot. And Jordan Davis should be able to put him on skates like that one clip from training camp.
Gotcha.
But you got to be willing to put him on the field and passing down. I don't know if Jonathan Gannon does that.
There's something smart to do, Gannon.
He's your one guy. Like that's the key to being able to get pressure on Kirk Cousins and then get pressure on Cousins and hope bad things happen has been a successful formula for years.
Yeah. Well, he's done a number on the Eagles.
He carves us up.
Yeah, he has for sure, man.
Luke, well, yeah, make sure you don't have any linebackers to talk trash about him before the game.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, we'll get a you like that 2.0 there. Can't wait. Luke, dude, great stuff. Really appreciate you taking the time to come on. I know it's a different time over wherever you're at. Not sure which exact time that is, but thank you for taking the time in the middle of your day to come on here and talk with the enemy, so to speak. And we'll have to do it again sometime soon. That's Luke Braun. You can follow him on Twitter at Luke Braun NFL or the at Locked On Vikings. It's the Locked On Vikings podcast. You can get that wherever you get your podcast. Luke, thanks again, man.
Thanks, Luke.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
Yep. See you, buddy. All right, Matt. So a little scary about Justin Jefferson, don't you think? I mean,
if I was a Vikings fan, I'd be just talking him up to oblivion.
Yeah. I think very interesting about Jordan Davis and this small center that they have up front. I mean, look, Gannon's got
I like that Jason Kelce if he was bad.
If he was bad, yeah. That dude really knew his stuff about the Eagles too.
You could tell he really knows
very
about
impressed.
Talking about football.
Yep.
Sure.
So now it's funny that he mentioned that because Gannon, like you said, if there's the right thing to do, Gannon's just not going to do it. But he's been talking.
Hassan Reddick's really good pass rusher. Let's put him in coverage.
Yeah. All right. So we got about 10 minutes left in the show here. I want to get out 55 so we can do watch
great football.
Watch some good football. I want to give everyone a couple minutes to get into Amazon Prime tonight. That's going to be an issue for everybody.
Oh my! I'm not going to be home tonight because I'm staying at Uncle Steven and Terry's. My dad.
There's
no way my dad's going to be able to figure it
shot.
out.
All right. So real quick, we'll get our thoughts on the final score. I think the matchup we got enough out of from Luke Braun there.
Yeah.
That was some good stuff. So let's go right to let's get this out of the way here. Yeah, I'm wearing a clown nose. All right.
Yep.
I was a bit overly confident.
I hadn't noticed.
Yeah, I was a bit overly confident in the Eagles to beat the Lions last week, and not just beat them, but pound them into the dust. I think I predicted like a 30-point win or whatever.
Yeah, you were having no parts of that spread.
Yeah, obviously that didn't happen. It was stupid because I took it too far and guaranteed that the Eagles would cover, as you can see. We did not cover. Now, this is something, Matt, that I sort of want to materialize throughout the season if we see fit. Now, there will more than likely be other times throughout the year where I feel so confident as to stake something similar to the clown nose on, whatever the outcome may be. Now, I'm willing to complete the clown, so to speak, or at least attempt to.
Mm-hmm.
We'll set aside a wig, face paint, the rosy cheeks, maybe like the lipstick. We'll do the suit and we'll do the shoes. And every time I get one wrong, I'll add another layer and I'll do the show and another layer of the clown costume.
So say your next one that you're confident on, you get right.
Do
So
you take it away?
Then do you make another one, and the only thing you do again is the nose?
Yeah.
Does
So
that remove the nose, and then the nose is the next?
the
thing that's in
nose
play?
so they'll be together, right? So the next week's show, I'm taking the nose off.
Okay.
But the next time I stake something, it's going to be the nose and the wig. And then the next time I stake something, it'll be the nose, the wig, and the face paint, something like that. So we'll add layers to that. Now, that's why I'm wearing the clown nose, and that's what it's going to be for the rest of the season.
Sorry, I'm going to be rooting against you the entire
I'm rooting for the Eagles to win, but not cover the spread.
Well, no, it's not going to always be the Eagles spread. It's going to be, it'll be something else. We'll
I think like maybe one day you'll put in like a Devontae Smith over on catches, something like that.
Yeah, we'll make some bold predictions.
like
maybe
that.
if I'm confident enough in some of them, we'll see.
I think we both went 1-0 on our bets we gave last week.
We did.
My cup receptions hit in the first half.
All right, there you go.
You had Bills annihilating, and they did.
There you go. So we'll play it by ear on that segment. Hopefully, I'm not a complete clown by the end of the year. We'll see. Might be.
I hope you are.
I think so, honestly.
But in a way where the Eagles are winning games.
Right. Yeah. All right, two dumbasses of the day. First of all, we kind of briefly touched on it, but man, Nathaniel Hackett probably with one of the all-time botch jobs at the end of a game on Monday night. Gino, man, primetime freaking Gino.
They wrote him off, but he ain't right back.
They wrote him off. He ain't right back. That's hilarious.
That's all. That was awesome.
So Russell Wilson, had a pretty decent day himself, but the team, not so much. Lost by 1 point.
Fumbles on the goal line.
Yeah, brutal. And Hackett, man, it just awful game management.
The next day too, he said, "Looking back on it, we probably should have."
Yeah, probably should have.
You don't know. Don't go back.
And then they asked Russell Wilson, they're like, "Do you agree with Hackett that you should have went for it?" He's like, "Listen."
He gave the longest answer to say like no.
Well, he started off with listen. Yeah. So he's basically, if you didn't see the game, there's about I'll go with a minute left in the game, and they're at what is it, the 47-yard line, I guess it would have been, and they decided they had 3 timeouts in hand, but they decided to let the clock run all the way down to 20 seconds, then take a timeout, and then attempt a 64-yard field goal, which before last season was the longest field goal in NFL history to ever be completed.
And then you used your 2 timeouts when there's 9 seconds left and they're needing the ball.
They're needing
no
the
physical
ball.
time. There's literally no chance for you to get the ball back.
He's called the timeouts. I guess he didn't want to take them home with him.
That was just being a D-bag.
I just have no idea what on earth that was.
I guess you maybe you could put it in they hired him before Russ, but if you went all in on Russ and paid him that money, don't you think you would have wanted to hire a veteran head coach?
Yeah.
Russ happened after, so I guess they didn't know that they were going to be in play for him, but you would imagine you wouldn't want a rookie head coach with a win now roster,
Yeah. You know what? Real quick, I forgot to throw this out. I would be remiss if I didn't give you the trivia question this week. So
can I answer right away since it's later?
Yeah, it's late in the show. We're gonna go back to 2018, the championship game. I don't think I did this exact question last year. I hope I didn't, but if I did, then you'll all know the answer. 38-7 was the final score, as I so rudely mentioned to our buddy Luke Braun here, who was kind enough to join the show, and I bullied him.
He liked it.
He did, yeah. He thought it was fun. The Vikings scored the very first touchdown of the game. They marched right down, and it was like,
what a start, Joe.
Uh-oh. You know who caught that touchdown?
Kyle Rudolph.
Too easy.
It was thrown 50,000 feet in the air, lofted by Keenan.
I did know that, and he was way faster than.
I'll never forget Joe Buck's call. He was like, "What a start!"
Yeah.
And we went 3 and out.
Yeah, not good. And then
Patrick
pick six.
Robinson.
The rest
Never
is
look
history.
back.
All right, since we do seem to have about 5 more minutes, let me just run through injuries real quick. Minnesota, former Eagles defensive tackle T.Y. McGill, questionable with an ankle. Everson Griffin, defensive end, questionable. He's been missing practice with personal reasons. Who knows?
He had that whole the mental health stuff going on.
Right.
He hasn't been himself in a long time. He used to be a beast.
2 Vikings rookies in the secondary, Lewis Sine and Andrew Booth Jr., both questionable as well. So banged up Minnesota
healthy, right?
defense.
No.
Yes.
He's a beast.
Yes, he is.
But we got the best tackle combo in the league.
Yes, we do.
Johnson, maybe the most underrated player in the NFL.
That's something to monitor on their defense, man. They're a little bit banged up now.
I think the Birds are going to put up points. I think it's going to be another shootout.
Yeah, it really should be a fun game. I'm dead serious when I'm saying that it's a real measuring stick game. Like, we're going to find out a lot about both teams.
We're all going to be locked in just like for the Eagles, but like as just like a normal fan of football, it's a great game.
It's an absolutely great game. Yep. It's too bad it's like going to be at the same time as the other.
Yeah, why'd they do that this year?
Usually it's 10, 1 at 7 and 1 at 10.
And usually it's week 1 too.
Right. Yeah.
Now it's week 2. It's weird.
Dumb.
Yeah.
No
What's
idea.
that? Is that the Bills Titans?
Yeah, Bills Titans. Which is going to be. I mean, could be. I don't know. If you're talking about Titans
Bills
from last year, yeah,
Bills are so good.
they really are. All right. Clean slate for the Eagles again. Besides the loss of Barnett to an ACL tear, that's depth taking a hit for sure. No starters have gone down yet. And the rest of the injury report is completely barren. You don't have limiteds, questionables. Well, a lot of limiteds today, but they're all getting rest, and they're all like the veteran guys. So I think that's just a thing
man. I mean,
we're doing. Yeah.
Just got to keep praying that they stay healthy.
Yeah. All right. Real quick. The Vikings are very young on the offensive line, but do you, at the end of the day, trust Gannon to be able to exploit that with Davis?
No.
I mean, no.
I think we're all on the same page here. We have no trust in Gannon.
None. That's terrible. Like the defense is way too talented to be. Like I said, I swear to God,
the defense is stacked. If you look like
I am going to be furious if we're allowing Cousins to complete like 80% of his passes.
Would you allow Howie to come down and coach the defense?
No.
Yes. No. All right, TK. Let's pull this up here. Here's our second dumbass of the day, and this is now the second time that the commies have been featured on this segment. Likely not the last. Take a look at this image, Matt. You see that? See that image right there on your screen?
Oh yeah, that's the state of Washington.
You got it. Yeah.
That's insane.
Okay. So let me clarify. That's a mug that's being sold at the stadium, FedEx Field. A mug being sold by the team at the stadium in the shape of Washington State. Being sold again. Let me repeat this at the stadium in Landover, Maryland, that FedEx Field is located in, where the Washington Commanders play. Not Washington State, which is on the complete other side of the country.
I
don't know how Dan Snyder doesn't know that.
How the fuck does that happen? No, like really, how the hell did that happen?
That's dumb.
That is asshole of the year.
I mean, it's like this might be at the end of the year when we go back and like tally all like who might be the biggest ones. Like this is really
we need to write them all down and have a year in review.
This is outrageously stupid.
Yeah,
I mean, holy crap.
How many do you think they manufactured?
Too many. Look at the thing. It looks like a fridge full of them. Oh, my God.
That is, like, crazy.
Yeah, really bad. All right.
Horrendous.
Let's would you give me a bold prediction for this week, Matt? It could be Eagles related. It could be NFL related. We're not going to go through the whole slate, but just give me what you think might be a bold prediction this week.
Right,
give me something bold. I can go first if you want me to.
I'm going to go Devontae Smith 2 touchdowns Monday night.
So he's getting the AJ Brown treatment.
He's going to have that. They're going to force feed him early on. I think he scores his first touchdown of the game, and I think he's just it's going to open him up, and he's going to start feeling good.
All right.
And like you mentioned, the Vikings got them injuries in the secondary.
Yep. I'll throw you an Eagles related one. Jaylen Rhaegar muffs a punt. Why not? That'd be electric, and we recover it, and the stadium goes ballistic. All right.
Bold prediction?
Bold, yeah. Well, yeah, probably not as bold.
The Eagles defense holds Justin Jefferson to under 50 yards and under 5 catches.
Wow.
You wanted a bold prediction.
That's cold.
Robert actually makes a great point. Future collector's item. I would collect.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
I mean, it is hilarious. That is an excellent point.
Use it at tailgates for the Eagles.
Yeah.
Put your beer in it.
Yeah. All right. My bold prediction around the NFL. Seattle's going to beat San Francisco this week. I had the Niners in the NFC Championship game, getting off to a little bit of a slow start. In Seattle,
that game against Chicago is just like so. Like
it was monsoon.
That's nothing.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
That was the most ridiculous I've ever seen.
But this is more about Seattle keeping it rolling. I think. Yeah. My best bet of the week, actually, Matt, if you have one, it's Raiders -4.5, and it's based off of double XP weekend in Call of Duty for Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I haven't really looked at the board much besides tonight, but I just really like Chargers +4.5 tonight. I think that the Chiefs will win, but it just feels like one of those games that's a field goal at the end.
Justin Herbert plays well in Arrowhead. And Kansas City's kicker is banged up.
Yep.
That could play.
They bring a new one in.
So, I mean, so he could be missing some.
I'm
4.5
thinking-
is.
I think the Chiefs win the game, but I think it's a field goal. I think it's like a 30-27 as time expires.
So I have the game down as basically a coin flip, 50-50, and in that case, I go with the underdog.
Plus 4.5.
Yep.
You guys Call of Duty fans, Kyle?
No,
No.
it's just
I play
Kyler Murray is just like locked in.
Beta drops tonight at midnight
It's
for
going to be a 2-year COD.
There's the thing. So Murray will do whatever it takes to not have to lock into football, and Call of Duty is one of the guy's favorite.
I saw like a clip of him that he read like something really wrong on the field, and someone's like, when Kyler Murray goes back and doesn't watch this film, he's not going to see that he was like terrible in spite.
All right, Matt, before we get out of here real quick, drop me the final score, man. Eagles Vikings. I've been saying it. I'm not feeling good about this one. I'm sticking with what I was
Birds
going
win
with.
33-30 with a Jalen Hurts drive. Field goal as time expires.
Wow.
Jake Elliott wins it at the end of regulation.
You'll get some buzz in the city there. Unfortunately, I'm sticking with I just think it's going to be a tough one, man. I know it's the home opener, but I just don't Justin Jefferson scares me to death. I have the Vikings winning 27-23, unfortunately. But I have this more of 2017 week 2 to the Chiefs loss than I do of last year to the Niners loss.
Okay.
Feel me?
Yeah, I got
TK, you want to give a final score, man?
27-24 Birds.
All right. There you go. Kind of flipped it over on me. Thanks to everybody for bearing with me with the clown nose. TK for producing the program. I hope everybody enjoys Thursday night football tonight and the Eagles on Monday. That's up to them, of course. We'll talk about that one next week on Thursday for Matt Quinn. Tom Kelly producing the program. I'm Kyle Quinn saying so long, and let me toss it over to TK, who's going to let you know a few things. Go Birds!
Absolutely. We're going to talk about my guys over at Philly Sports Trips. They're literally, it looks like every away game, they have something going on. This Monday coming up down at the Navy Yard at Gatehouse, they're doing a Birds tailgate. Head on over to phillysportstrips.com. Check them out today. I'm telling you, all the guys over there, Vince and the rest of the crew over there at Philly Sports Trips are great. My man David Cherry, 610-565-0300, workman's compensation, motor vehicle accidents, personal injury, and criminal law. Dave does it all, so give him a call at 610. Wow, that all rhymed. 565-0300. That was not on purpose. Eagles Game Day Live here from the Edge of Philly Sports Show and the Painted Lines. Pre-game, halftime, and post-game show. Head on over to edgeofphillysports.com. And we have a live remote coming up at the South House down at 2535 South 13th Street. That'll be October 2nd starting at 11 a.m. Birds, Jags, come on out. And there are too many shows on the network now for me to even attempt to name. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. And we will see you guys next Thursday. Go Birds!